Dear Master Course students, you are studying the module named Models of Mental Activity. Recently, linguists more and more often start to contemplate to what degree the models of language description being developed by them are related to the real functioning of language as the representative of our mind. The idea that it's hardly possible to find explanation of forming and functioning of language structures on the evidence from internal linguistic facts is getting more and more popularity and recognition. It's not possible to characterize linguistic units only by description of their abstract nominative features and analyzing them in isolation from their functioning in real speech situations. It is important to consider how elements of a certain language subsystem represent some mental structures in the text, how they interact with each other, and how do they interact with the elements of other systems. Contrasting of mental and speech processes allows to capture their specific and interrelated spheres of activities. It should be noted that in a speech process, during the process of speech production and listening to the speech by addressees, at the beginning and at the end of the process, one component is absolutely necessary. It is a semantic component, which is described under the term comprehension. This component, from the point of view of its mechanism, can be classified as the presence of model of situation in a cognitive sphere of speech subject. This is the main component which is necessary for speech that is being produced to be meaningful and understandable for the recipient of this speech. Comprehension is a semantic component of the same type. That is, the presence of model of situation is necessary in the process of cognition as well. Interaction of speech process and process of thinking takes place into semantic component, which is comprehension of element of situation. For a process of thinking, this component acts as a material for necessary operations, for a speech process as a basis for verbalization of verbal descriptions. The specific and main feature of linguistic speech process is creation of a verbal product, corresponding to its semantic content. That is why speech can be integrated into any psychological processes that contain semantic component. Analysis of correspondence of speech and mental processes represents speech as some multivalent structure, which allows its inclusion into different kinds of cognitive functions. Models of mental activity are psychological representations of real, probable, and hypothetical situations. They were formulated for the first time by American philosopher Charles Sanders Peirce. Scottish psychologist Kenneth Craig believed that our mind creates models of reality on a smaller scale for foreseeing some events or speculating about these events or speculations on the topic of the events. Models of mental activity, in the same way as pictures in the theory of pictures of Ludwig Wittgenstein, have a structure corresponding to the object they represent. They can be compared with the projects of architectural buildings, for example, or models of complex molecules in biology, or diagrams of particle interaction in physics. Cognitive linguistics postulates that our mind constructs mental models as a result of perception, imagination, and knowledge about the world, as well as a result of discourse comprehension. Linguists study how these models communicate thoughts, suppositions, feelings, how do they function in different language spheres. Theory of models of mental activity postulates that the structure of such models corresponds to the structure of the world around us, but has a system of signs, special signs for negation, possibility, supposition, and other language functions. Dynamic models develop with time and represent the sequence of events. Models support the principle of iconicity, that is, their parts and relations correspond to the structures of the world, the situation they represent. They presuppose some visual role, but can represent also some abstract notions as well. They can be supplemented with symbols, for example, in the case of negation. Study of mental mechanisms of meaning representation in language in the course of models of mental activity contributes to the creation of the general theory of cognition, which is meant to explain how processing of information about the world around us is done by means of language and process of thinking. So we wish you interesting classes and exciting new knowledge. Good luck!